Joining me today is UFC lightweight contender Dan Hooker. Dan, always a pleasure to catch up. I appreciate you joining me today.
No trouble at all. Whenever you get in touch with me, I'm happy to jump on a call.
I appreciate that. Well, a lot to talk to you about. I always enjoy catching up with you. I wanted to touch on UFC 263 first because I know you wanted to be a part of that card. So is that hard not getting to compete with your teammates, Brad and Izzy?
Oh, definitely. Man, I tried to jump on that card as soon as I heard about it. So before like when Israel just found out the date, so it was before he even got Vittori locked in. He was just like, he was adamant that he was going to fight, whether it was Vittori or whether it was Whitaker. He just wanted to fight on that date. So as soon as I caught wind of it from him that was a date, I got in touch with the UFC and just hounded them to get on the card. But um, I couldn't get a matchup.
Were you close at all at any point? Like, were there any offers at all, or the UFC liked you? We just can't get you anybody.
Yeah, pretty much. There was no, there was no like turning down fights or anything like that. I got in touch with them before the Vittori fight was even locked in, and yeah, they came back to me and said, no one in the top 15 is free at the moment or uninjured. So that's just the story, and that's just the way it goes sometimes.
And I know it's tough for you because obviously there's a perk in being on the same card as your teammates because you guys have to go through quarantine and you're going to get to have your coaches as well. And they can't keep going back and forth because they've got to corner so many guys. So now looking at the timeline and stuff, Izzy looks like he's targeting October. We've got Volkanovski on 266, which is September 25. Is that a little bit tough for you having to wait that long? Or are you going to try to jump in before? Like, what's the game plan for you in terms of your return?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You gotta learn from your losses. You gotta kind of correct those mistakes. So I said after the last fight that I would get back in time with my team, so that I'm not going away by myself anymore. It's obviously not the best idea. So yeah, I'll wait till they're ready to go. So I think it's when Volkanovski's up next. That'll be the next time you'll see me in action. So I've got that date. Whenever that Volkanovski card is, whenever that date is, I'll be jumping on that one.
Yeah, and looks like it's 266 September 25. I'm assuming hopefully you will be able to get an opponent by then. Uh, I guess is there a little bit of an advantage that maybe if they try to get you a fight quickly for 263, that maybe you wouldn't have had that much time to train? Like maybe they would have gotten you something last second. At least is there a bit of an advantage where you'll get more time to put in an actual proper training camp?
Oh no, I wouldn't say that. I would have been fit. I would have been in fight shape. I would say I don't like it. I don't like sitting around getting agitated. But the more time, like I love to fight and I like to stay active. Um, but the longer you give me out, just the itchier my knuckles get itchier and itchier, and I get more agitated and I get more pissed off. So it's in the long run, the longer gap I've had between fights, like I kind of come back in there on fire. So I'm feeling like that already. So if you sit me around until September 25th, I'm gonna be chomping in the bit to get my hands on someone.
Right. And before we talk about what's next for you, I want to talk about your teammates' performances. Let's start off with Brad Riddell. Fight of the night with Drew Dober, someone you're familiar with, someone you trained. I know it was years ago at an Elevation Fight Team, but man, like he kind of weathered a bit of an early storm and just showed real experience, which is obviously a refreshing thing to see from a young fighter, at least young in his UFC career. The way he weathered that storm and rallied to win those last two rounds. What did you think of his performance? And he's in the rankings now as well.
Oh, incredible performance. I knew that fight was going to be dangerous coming into it just because I know Drew. I know how hard he starts a fight. I know how tough he is. Yeah, I spent some time at Team Elevation with him. Great guy, great team, and I knew that fight was going to be absolute fireworks. Yeah, like Brad was able to fall back on his experience. Only 10 MMA fights, but when you chalk that up next to whatever crazy number it is, 70, 80 kickboxing fights, like that's a lot of fight experience to fall back on. So he was able to stay calm and stay collected, and yeah, now he's found himself in the rankings. So it's nothing but good things for him.
Of course, and he wanted to get that Gregor Gillespie fight rebooked. At least that gives you one less option, right? If he's going after that, I know you're looking for a fight, but maybe that gets Gregor out of the way if he wants that fight rebooked.
Yeah, oh, he was. Yeah, I don't want to step on his toes. He was. I think when he got when some of our team got COVID, or some of the corner got COVID, and then or Volk got COVID, and then that fight fell together on fight day. So he woke up on fight day, and that Gregor Gillespie fight fell together. So I know he did a whole training camp for that fight, and he had his sights set on Gregor. And when that fell through, I just heard him mention it, that he would get the winner of that Fajeda Gillespie fight, and so Gregor got the win there, and so yeah, I'll leave that bone alone. I think there's a couple more fresh bones in the yard. I'll leave the Gregor Gillespie bone to your Brad.
Right, and Izzy scores a shutout, kind of a Marvin Vittori. I know Marvin like gave him a close fight, and Izzy wasn't too happy with the split decision. He felt like he won the first 2 rounds, and that it wasn't that close, or as close as people made it out seem. What do you think of Izzy's performance? Because he seemed pretty comfortable in there.
Yeah, his performance was outstanding. Yeah, I think it was like our coaches. I heard him say in an interview, like they were yelling at him to not get bored, or to stay focused, because you could kind of see that, like he kind of had Vittori's like timing figured out. And then I can't remember, it was like the third round or fourth round, when he just kind of puts himself on the cage and like lets Vittori throw punches at him, and he's like slipping and bobbing out of the way of like eight or nine punches, and then that's just him. That's not because Vittori like forced him against the cage or anything like that. To me, watching it, that's more like Israel getting bored and trying to keep the fight interesting for himself. Because I thought like he was taking a bit of risk, like backing himself to the cage and letting Vittori throw punches at him. But yeah, he's just entertaining himself, I guess.
Did your coaches get any kind of like Anderson Silva flashbacks, with Anderson doing that with Chris Weidman, with Izzy bobbing and weaving with his back against the fence?
Oh, I don't think it was that bad. I don't think it was. I don't think it was. That's 20. That's 20. Was something crazy. Bunch more title defenses. Maybe in 10 more title defenses, you'll see some. When Israel's really bored, then we'll see that.
Right. Well, also on 263, Nate Diaz, Leon Edwards. Seemed like it was going to be a pretty dominant win for Leon until Nate stuns him in the final 30 seconds. Did you watch that fight, and kind of what did you make of that final rally? I almost felt like Nate Diaz pointing at him in vintage fashion. People felt like he should have jumped right on him. What did you make of that fight?
Yeah, well, there was a lot of people I was watching it with had some big money on Nate Diaz, so the room kind of exploded when he lands that slap too. Leon gets a little wobbled, but yeah, and then people were saying, "Oh, he should have just rushed in and gone for the finish." But Nate kind of showed his experience. That's definitely not the first time that he's hurt someone, and when you go rushing in, you got to think, if you're hurt and someone rushes at you, you're going to go all in on whatever shot you can see. If I see a overhand, if I see a left hook, if I see something, I'm going all in on that punch. So you're at your most dangerous when you're most hurt. So I think we just saw that from Nate. He didn't rush in and take the piss. Leon's an incredible fighter, so he just showed a bit of experience there. But for mine, that's a win for both of them. Like, Leon actually gets the win, he gets to progress and move forward his career. But Nate wins big in the fans' eyes. So I think that fight was all over, is a win-win situation for both.
And the reason I bring that fight, because I saw you quote tweet one of our tweets at MMA Junkie, putting your hand up to fight Nate Diaz when we were playing kind of matchmaker for him. So is that a fight that interests you next? I mean, I don't think we necessarily put your name next to him just because of the weight class thing, but it will probably be at 170. But does that fight interest you?
Definitely that fight. That fight has my interest. So it's I just seen the the video of him saying he wants to get back in there in 3 or 4 months. And if you want to fight him, put your hand up. And that's something that I'm quite well known for is putting my hand up for fights and taking opportunities and not staying silent in moments like that. I'm not afraid to ask for the things that I want. I just see a good fight. I just feel like I'll bring the kind of fight that will do a Diaz brother justice. And it works on the timeline. He said 3 or 4 months. That September card, Bolt's card. That's 3 or 4 months. So, but that's my date. My date is set for that. If he wants it, he wants it. We can get it done, and we can get in there, whatever weight class. But I'm not like gonna hang around and wait and hold my breath. That's my date. I've got my date set. If he wants it, he wants it. If he doesn't want it, I'm just gonna chew my way down the list until I can get a name that says yes.
Fair enough. And 170, I don't think you've competed. Have you competed at 174? Not at least not. I don't know on record as I can see in your pro career. It's been lightweight and featherweight. Have you competed at 170 before?
I've fought yeah, a bit heavier than that throughout my time. Not in the UFC. But I feel like Diaz is more of like just a lightweight frame guy that doesn't want to cut weight. His idea. We'll set the fight 170. I'll come in 165. We'll call it.
Oh.
We'll call it. He can come in or whatever he comes in. I'll come in 165.
Yeah, because I was gonna say there were these old photos that surfaced of you when you looked like you were bigger. But when I was looking at kind of your record and I was trying to read it, I'm like, he didn't look like he was 155 in those pictures, which is why I wanted to ask you. So maybe I don't know, maybe they just didn't write it on record or something. But probably some of your earlier fights. But yeah, I mean, Diaz, like you said, he's fought at lightweight a lot. So 170 wouldn't be, or if you come in at 160, I mean, Izzy comes in at like 183 for his title fight. So I guess coming in a bit under doesn't matter.
Yeah, I feel good. I feel good walking around. I can definitely get heavier. Yeah, I think the heaviest I've been for a fight is over 185. But my opponent was like I'm trying to do the shift it to pounds. It was like it would have been 200 and like 275, 280. And I was 185. So I have fought a little heavier than 170.
Geez, when was that?
Before the UFC, a couple of fights before the UFC, I fought just like a no weight limit fight down here in New Zealand for a little bit of fun. That's how I keep myself entertained in this side of the world.
100 pounds on you. That's a lot. That's like another person. That's like you fighting two people.
Yeah, he was a big lad. He's a big lad. I think I won that fight with a soccer kick though.
All right, there you go. I mean, if there's gonna be no like weight rules, at least you should be able to soccer kick him, right?
We call it Kiwi pride. Kiwi pride. Pride rules, but with elbows. So they're pretty great fight. I think the footage will be out there somewhere. I think it resurfaces now and then.
I'll look for that for sure. And another name that you kind of floated before in prior interviews, I think with Submission Radio, was Tony Ferguson. Now, I don't know what his timeline is exactly or when he's looking to get back in there, but would you say, I mean, with Diaz, I know it's a little bit hard to know exactly when he wants to fight. I believe with Tony, it's probably a little bit easier in terms of negotiations with him. So would you say that's kind of like one of your top priorities as well, opponents that you want to face?
Oh, 100%. That's just a fight that gets me excited. That's just a fight. And that's what the fans want to see. They want to see you in fights that you're excited to be in. That Tony Ferguson, Dan Hooker fight. I feel like that's a bloodbath. I feel like that's an absolute war, and that's a fight that definitely gets me up and gets me excited. So it's on my list. So it's out there. My date is set. That Volkanovski card in September. That's my date. That's when I'm stepping in there, and whether that's Nate Diaz, whether that's Tony Ferguson, whether that's any of the other guys, top to bottom of the lightweight division, I'll be stepping in there.
And yeah, like because obviously I think a lot of guys are booked up, but also a couple of names maybe there in the rankings that aren't obviously. We're not going to talk about Brad, and he wants Gregor, so let's get them out of the equation. Couple of names maybe from 10 to 15. Would you be down kind of to fight somebody lower ranked within that range, or even if they come to you with somebody unranked? I know you're so eager to fight, so that's why I'm asking. Like, what's your take going to be in terms of them offering you opponents?
Oh, top to bottom. That's my date. That's my date. Yeah. That's when I'm fighting. Like I said top to bottom. I've never turned down a fight. Like if the UFC, you gotta think there's things that I would go to the UFC with. Like I've gotten like Twitter arguments with guys, like unranked guys before. I got in like a little Twitter argument and then messaged the UFC. Been like, I wanna give this guy a hiding, I wanna smash this guy, set this guy up with the fight. And they think it's a stupid idea, and they don't even forward the fight on. So there's like a lot of fights that I go to the UFC with that I would take, but they're like, Dan, we're not going to pay you the amount of money we pay you to beat that guy up. That's not what we're doing. So it's up to the UFC. If you unranked guys can get it past the UFC, then you can get it past the UFC. I will take the fight.
Well, yeah, I'm glad I brought it up because I've seen a couple of guys kind of poke at you on Twitter. So I'm glad, and there's that notion that you don't want to fight them. So that's why I'm glad I brought it up.
Oh yeah, whatever it is, man. Like they know what it is. Like, oh yeah, fight me. It's like, yeah, of course. Like, oh, now you're scared. You know, it's like, yeah, whatever, bro. It doesn't, like, I'm gonna sit there and argue with all of these guys and explain to them how the UFC works, explain to them, like, I've been doing this a long time. I understand the game. I understand how it works. Some of these guys are new to the party. They go through managers that take a cut of their check and feed them misinformation. So they have a middleman. I deal directly with the UFC. So I understand how the game works. I deal with the matchmakers. I understand this game. You know, these guys, they speak for a middleman who cuts his check and then changes his tune, and you don't know what he's doing. You can't trust him. He says, oh no, he doesn't want to fight you. He's turning this down. Like, don't be stupid, bro. Don't be stupid. You're like falling for your middleman. Cut him a check to forward emails, because that's all he's doing. 10% to forward emails. You're idiots.
I like that. Come see Dan Hooker at UFC 266 if you got an issue, right? Like you're there September 25. Just come see him. Well, Dan, I'm gonna leave you the couple.
I'm there.
Dan, I appreciate you doing this. I'll leave you the couple more questions. Obviously, the last couple of fights didn't go your way. Completely different style of fights, a war. Then you have kind of a quick stoppage loss where you didn't really get to show anything. Which loss would you say hurt you more?
That's a good question. That's a very difficult question to answer. I don't know. They're both so different. Like one of them, your like pride is not hurt. Like the Poirier fight, your pride is not hurt, but you're like physically took a lot of damage, and it took some time to recover from. But then the other one, you're physically fine. Like I went to training and did some jiu-jitsu and went for a run like the day after that fight, the Michael Chandler fight, and I felt absolutely normal. Obviously, I still took a good amount of time off just because I respect the amount of, your body and how you need to recover. But I felt fine, like absolutely no injuries, but your pride is hurt. So I can't, that's a difficult question to answer. I would say, yeah, I don't know. Neither of them. I want neither of them ever again.
Yeah, I could understand. And I know you ended up going to Dubai because obviously you couldn't fly home. What was that like? You got some training at TK MMA with some familiar faces, right? Some guys that you trained in Thailand before.
Oh, 100%. That was incredible. I love my time there in Dubai. Yeah, Bam Bam was over there. Tai Tuivasa, Sully, Coach Sully. So there's an incredible head coach there. Man, that gym's really popping off. Brendan, who's killing it in the PFL, now got himself into the playoffs. Tariq, he's also smashing it over UAE Warriors champ. So, man, it's a deep pool of talent there at that gym, and it's they're doing some incredible things in that part of the world.
Absolutely. And I wanted to get your thoughts. I know you said you had a funny story about you not watching Charles Oliveira and Michael Chandler, watching parts of it only. Did you get a chance to revisit that fight or not yet?
Nah, I actually haven't got around to it. I haven't got. You can say it's a funny story, but I got too drunk. That's I drank too much whiskey, and then I thought Michael Chandler won. But that's somewhere you can find the video. You can find the video of that story yourself.
So, in your eyes, Michael Chandler is the champion still until you watch that fight.
Nah, I got corrected pretty quickly. It was maybe an hour or two. I was like, I'm coming for them. Come for them. They're like, Dan, he got smashed. Like he got knocked out. He lost it. I was thinking, what the? I must have stopped watching it.
Right. Well, I want to get one prediction from you. Dustin Poirier, Conor McGregor trilogy. Who do you think takes that one?
Oh man, it's just hard to see, Conor being able to make the adjustments in that amount of time in such a short space of time, and that's a pretty big adjustment. It's not as simple as just picking your leg up and turning the other way. It's like I feel like Conor McGregor's stance is like open for that from another southpaw, and Dustin's been working on it. He would have been working on it even more since the fight. Just not enough time to make the necessary adjustments. I don't feel like we're going to see a very different result from that rematch.
All right. Well, Dan, great stuff. I really appreciate you taking the time. Hopefully, we'll see you on UFC 266. Well, I guess we'll find out who it is soon, hopefully sooner rather than later. But I appreciate you doing this. And like I said, hopefully we'll see you 266. If not, maybe with Izzy in October, but preferably 266, get you back in there as soon as possible.
Don't even say that. Don't curse me with anything about October. September.
September 25. I'm writing it down. Dan is going to be there, opponent or not. You're going to be there.
I'll be there, standing in the cage by myself, shadowboxing. I'll fight someone. I'll fight someone from the crowd. We got a crowd now. We'll pick someone out.
Exactly. There you go. Well, Dan, thank you so much for doing this. And yes, we'll see you at UFC 266.
Thank you.
Have a good one.